And welcome to episode 121 of Habs Unfiltered. The gang's all here. I'm your host, Blaine Pudvey, and I'm joined now by my co-host, Matt Smith.
Afternoon.
And Treg the Hammer Wilson.
How's it going?
Well, it's nice to see you back. You were gone away for a couple of episodes there, and the fans noticed your absence because I think the numbers went up.
Probably.
It was more Matt more of the time, so ratings go up.
Well, so, it was nice while it lasted.
Yeah. So it's I don't think there's gonna be much to talk about this episode. We'll just kind of shoot the breeze a little bit. Nothing happened.
No, not a thing.
There were no major changes and no losses. No, things are pretty
much status quo.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So if you've been living under a rock for the last week, the Canadiens just lost a 2-game set to the Ottawa Senators, albeit 2 overtime losses. So the Canadiens technically are still unbeaten in regulation while on the road. However, that did not save Claude Julien's job. He is now unemployed, but being paid $5 million a year to do so. And Dominique Ducharme, the former assistant, is now the head coach. We will get into that in our final segment of this episode, but what we're going to start with today is the 2-game set against the Ottawa Senators. We'll start with you, Treg. What did you see in those games that made you cringe more than anything else you've cringed at in the last couple of days? Because that was some bad hockey.
I just don't think the players were, how can I put this? I just don't think they were into the games. I think Claude Julien lost the room. Weber had said, a week ago now, maybe 3-5 days ago, that there's a negativity around the room and on the bench. And I think coming from a leader like that, that's kind of saying, there's something not right here. I found it very reminiscent, and correct me if I'm wrong, of the last few games of Michael Therrien's reign with the Montreal Canadiens. They were in first place at the time, but you could tell that Therrien lost the room. And I don't want to say players give up or they throw games. I'm not saying that's what happened, but I don't think the effort didn't seem to be there. Again, I'm not saying that I would never say teams do think that on purpose. I just think you get into a routine that you're not happy with, and you just, we've all done it. You just don't put the effort into it that you would normally put into it if you were enjoying what you were doing. And I think the games against Ottawa, I think the only reason it went to overtime is because it was Ottawa. Any other team in Montreal would have been smoked right out of the water. Wouldn't even be close. So we should take the 2 points, say we're lucky, and hopefully things change against Winnipeg. We have 4 games in the next 7 nights against Winnipeg or something like that. And that's that's pretty much to me going to be the season right there, because we're battling Calgary now for a playoff spot. So, but yeah, I just cringed at the fact that the players just didn't seem to they didn't put the effort into it. It wasn't the same as, Montreal plays down to the team. It was more of there just wasn't an effort at all.
Now, I don't think it was an effort issue per se. Like, they were still putting in some effort. It just seemed that they lacked that second effort that they were getting in the first part of the season, where if they were caught like a foot behind a play, they would put their head down and just motor back. But in this case, it didn't seem they had that. And they were a little sloppy, especially in their zone coverages. Like, for instance, the first goal that Ottawa scored in that second game, where Kulak disengaged during the 3-on-2 and went to go cover the puck carrier with Romanov. His expectation when he was looking up is that Kotkaniemi is going to come down and cover that man swooping in. he didn't. So Kotkaniemi didn't read that play properly. Kulak didn't notice that KK was going to be a little off on that because he was a little bit further behind the play than he would have liked to have been to be able to make that coverage a possibility. So that's a misread on KK's part. It's a misread on Kulak's part in two ways, and that led to a goal. So it's those little errors where they're just a little bit behind the play, where at the beginning of the season, they wouldn't be as far behind and they'd be able to make up that ground with that little second effort, but they just didn't have that the last 8, 9, 10 games. The forecheck, the aggressive, attacking, relentless forecheck, we have not seen that since the first loss to Ottawa. After that loss, it looked as though Julian kind of pulled the reins in a little bit on that more offensive style. So things started to go downhill from there, really. And that last game against Ottawa, we saw the fruits of that. Is there was no inspiration, there was no desire. Now, Matt, what did you see?
So I saw the same. A little bit of both of what you guys are saying. I did see a team that didn't seem to have that next level of drive that they had at the start of the year. And as you said, when a play was lost, it was lost. There wasn't that second effort to get back into it. Defensive play was very, very, very sloppy. And Carey Price, up till that last goal that he allowed, he made some very big saves to keep this team in the lead, or not in the lead, in the game, to be able to give them an opportunity to at least pick up a point, which they did. First game, Jake Allen just lights out, breakaways, and in overtime gave them the opportunity to win. And all three goals that went in on him, every one of them a favorable bounce. And I felt really bad for him. And every game that Allen has played this year, he's given the team a chance to win. And that's not just because he was given lesser competition or anything like that. Through 7 games this year, he's got a .932 save percentage. And we talked about the importance of some of these players coming in, like Josh Anderson, providing that goal scoring and physicality, or Toffoli. But for me, it's been Jake Allen the whole time. I think he's really been the most important piece to this team with the new additions. For the game itself, the Canadians had chances to win both of those games. They hit some posts. They hit, they didn't get some calls go their way. But at the end of the day, this isn't the same team as we saw at the start of the season. And if it was, we'd probably be talking about 2 wins, let alone two overtime loss, or an overtime loss and a shootout loss. The one thing that really bothers me is that they still haven't fixed their 3-on-3 play. They just can't get over that. And they've got a team that is built on the back end to be a big, brutish, hard-hitting, defend type core. They're not a jump up in the rush, dangle through defenders, lead the offense type core. They've got guys that can score, but they don't have those guys to run the play, other than, say, a guy like Petrie. And we see that usually when 3-on-3 starts, he's the first guy on the ice. Then they have to go and kind of dip in and say, okay, well, we'll put in Sherratt, or we'll put in Romanov, or we'll put in whoever. What I would like to see, and I've brought this up in the past, if they are so, and it's hard to say what's going to happen now with the new coaching staff, but what I would like to see is, if you're going to use these more defensive players, especially your forwards, guys like Deneau, guys like Armia, Lehkonen, etc., when Lehkonen gets back in the lineup, use these guys as third forwards on the ice, play them back in the defensive zone. Then you've got guys that can drive the play, that have the speed, and then you've got, say, Deneau out there, win the faceoff. From there, you back off a little bit and let guys with a little bit more offensive flair, like say a Tatar or Drouin, whatever, to be up in the play. And for the love of God, give Kotkaniemi a chance in overtime and in a shootout. We see all these videos that the Canadians come out with, and it's these pretty moves that they're doing. And I'm saying, like, obviously this isn't always going to happen in a game. However, shootout is nothing more than a skills competition. And if Kotkaniemi and Suzuki have the skill to perform these moves, I'm not going to say they're going to do those exact moves in a shootout, but the skill is there. Give them the opportunity to shine. They're not going to learn if they don't have the opportunity to be on the ice and to get that opportunity when it matters most.
I think the issue with the 3-on-3 is Julian just puts the wrong people out. Julian plays not to lose, he doesn't play to win. He said so himself. We're going to get into that later, but for me, 3-on-3, it's easy. You go with your fastest and your high skilled players. You've already got the loser point. You're there to win it. Overtime, you're there to win. You're not there to hope you don't lose. By putting Deneau, Weber, Sherratt, Byron. I mean, Byron's not bad in 3-on-3, but Lehkonen, guys like that. And I'm not saying anything bad about Lehkonen or Deneau, but they're not 3-on-3 players. They're the guys who put in the last 2 minutes of a game of a 1-goal lead or a 2-goal lead. Yeah. They're not the players who put in a 3-on-3.
I don't mind taking a guy like Deneau, letting him win the defensive faceoff. You bring it back to your defender, and then you go up the ice and you make the change as needed. Bring on the offense.
Sure,
but we haven't seen that. It's double shifting Deneau or bringing Sherratt and him being on the ice way, way, way too long, right?
And if you go back to the defense, the reason the offense was the way it was at the first of the season is that defense were engaging the offense. Kulak, Edmondson was even pinching in.
That's right.
Even the defensive guys that we were talking about, they were moving the puck into the zone and rushing the play or leading the play. Petrie leading the way, of course.
Yes.
And then they got away from that. Then they got to only Petrie was pinching in and everybody else was backing up.
Yeah.
And to the point where Romanov's starting to look pretty bad because he doesn't know what to do. Yeah, I think that's the issue with him.
So I noticed that in the last game. There was a few times the puck came across to him, and whether he was going to accept a pass or he was going to do a one-timer, he just kind of let it go right by him.
He doesn't know what to do.
And I feel that a lot of the deficiencies we're seeing, especially on the bottom pair, have to do with the change that was more or less forced on Bergevin with Mete having to come into the lineup after his agent talked. I've noticed that Kulak has been a shadow of the player that he was, and he's not driving it up into the play. He's not going to the net. He's not really himself. And Romanov has been the same way since they've been taken out of the lineup because they know, well, if I fuck up, I'm probably going to be the one that's going to be in the press box.
I'm going to actually defend Mete a little bit here, but yeah, I get what you're saying on that, Matt, where, they're taking these guys out for Mete to get playing time, but Mete's going to have to get playing time regardless.
He will.
Just because of I think it's more of going back to what Weber said about the negativity in the room. I think players, especially a young guy like Romanov or a guy like Kulak, and you're right, it does have something to do with sitting. They're just afraid to make a mistake.
That's true. Because right? they know what's going to happen.
Exactly. And so Mete was going to get in games. It's not going to matter. He's played 4 games now, but
for me, it was the timing of it.
Yeah.
It wasn't the fact that player X played bad and we took him out. It was the fact that an agent spoke up and said, well, my client wants this. And then they kind of forced their hand. So that's all I'll say about that. It wasn't the right timing, and we'll see under a new coaching staff. We'll see these new processes put into place, and maybe these players are going to get back to driving the offense. Right?
We'll get into that more later
in
the segment. To finish off on the Ottawa series and a little bit of what led to this, I'm going to put it out there. Carey Price. He's been Jekyll and Hyde.
Yep.
In that last game, there was he let in a couple of really just horrible goals. But in that second period, when they were down on a 5-on-3, and throughout that period, he stood on his head. He was unbelievable. He was making big saves. And then he lets in, for instance, that tying goal by Kachuk,
Yep.
the 4-4 goal. The backhand, when he's kind of on the post, not quite through his legs, that is a horrible goal to give up. Not only is it a bad goal because he was out of place, misread it, you pick your poison on that one, but the timing of that goal. They had just battled back after a horrible first period, clawed their way back into the game, took a lead. Toffoli had just scored, what was it, about 3 minutes before to give Montreal the lead? So giving up such a terrible goal at such a horrible time that you can tell it deflated them a little bit.
Yeah. And in a game that Jonathan Drouin scored.
Right.
The only reason he scored is he had no one to pass it to, but I like the fact that Drouin scored, and I hope that's going to be a boost to his confidence.
Drouin's been one of the best forwards
through this
whole slump.
Yeah, he has.
On both sides of the ice. The 200-foot game, he's been just, for Drouin, it's been amazing for Drouin.
I'm hoping to see a few more shots, though, so I can take up more drinks. You guys probably saw that tweet.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that I'm hoping that it's just going to lead to good things. And having someone like Ducharme that's coached him in the past, maybe will open up a new part of his game. We'll see.
Well, if you shoot more, it would open up more passing lanes to take advantage of his playmaking ability. Yep. And before anyone gets too upset, any of our listeners, please remember that a goal and an assist both equal 1 point. And if he gets an assist, that means somebody else scored a goal
because
of him. And that's the goal of for the team, is to get a goal. Right. Honestly, I could care less which one of the three on the ice on his line score the goal. It could be it could be him, it could be Anderson, it could be Suzuki. But if all three have a hand in creating that goal, all the better.
Yeah, somebody did something right.
They did something right, or got lucky. Either way, I don't care. The puck went in the other team's net.
That's right.
So I think we kind of killed that Ottawa series.
Speaking of pucks going in nets.
Oh God. You going to talk about the Yolonen goal in Laval? Is that
we can bring that one up. I kind of felt bad for Demchenko, but good for Yolonen to score his first goal just against the wrong team.
Yeah. I'm sure he loves that we're bringing that up.
Yeah, of course. Because we know he's listening.
Oh, of course he's
100%.
I mean, he's one of our most avid listeners.
Yeah.
But in that Ottawa game, something did come up. So I'm going to just play us a little something to ease us in.
Still searching for an explanation that makes sense. We sit down at the start of every season. We sit down at the start of every season, and the NHL prepares a video for us. The referees see the exact same video. We've seen clips. There was a clip last year, a New York Islander player bumped Anderson in Toronto. Anderson had time to reset. The puck went in. Goal counted. This play, I'm knocked on my ass. I have time to reset. Can't tell me the goalie doesn't have time to reset. The other explanation I got, okay, I'm in the blue paint. I'm working my way out of the blue paint. We've seen in that same video plenty of examples where the player's working his way out. He's pushed into the goalie. Goal counted. We watch this video. The refs watch this video. For some reason, this example is different. I don't know why. To me, it's ruining the product. I don't know. We need consistency, and for us to the guys battled hard. We didn't have the start we wanted. The guys battled very hard to come back. Thought they deserved a better fate than that. It's very disappointing the way that was decided.
So that was Brendan Gallagher talking about the disallowed goal. I swear to God, they have interns in that office that just sit there and flip a damn coin. Heads, oh, home team call. Tails, oh, road team call. There is no consistency in the goalie interference calls. We saw it in a couple games before where they disallowed a goal by Kotkaniemi, or you could say Armia. Either way, they scored on Toronto. They called it back. And literally an hour later, almost the exact same scenario comes into play. In that case, with Calgary scoring a goal against Edmonton, Tkachuk ran into the goalie, but as he was running into the goalie, Nurse started pushing him in. So they called that it wasn't goalie interference because Nurse pushed Tkachuk in. Now in this case, the Gallagher goal against Ottawa, Gallagher was coming in from behind the net. Zaitsev pushes Gallagher into Murray. Gallagher gets up, starts getting his way out of the blue paint. He gets knocked down a second time while Murray is still recovering. Gallagher throws the defender off of him, gets up, tracks the puck going from point to point, tips the puck. Had Gallagher not tipped that puck, Murray was already up, recovered, and in position to stop that shot. Had Gallagher not tipped it, it would have been a save. So I can understand Gallagher's frustration. He was pushed. He worked his way out. He reset himself. The only reason it's a goal is because he tipped it. Murray was set. But it didn't count. And I know people can argue, well, that's why Julian ended up being fired, but that's not the case. We'll get into that later. But the consistency in that call, the fact that Gallagher was pushed in twice, and then they still call it back, goes against the call, the call they made on the last goal that they had to review between Calgary and Edmonton. So what is it? What is goalie interference? If anybody knows, dear God, please tell us, because the NHL doesn't seem to know. Dreg, what did you think of that whole fiasco?
I thought it was a good goal. Like, even if it was goalie interference, it was very minor. I think his skate might have hit him in the pad or something when he was getting pushed through. I guess the only argument you can make was Gallagher didn't put that much effort to stay out of the blue paint. But I don't think any player would in that situation. Overdrive, Jamie McLennan on Overdrive today. He disagreed. He doesn't think it was he thinks it was a goal himself, and he brought up a good point. Why did Murray do a 360 in the crease when he got up? Like, why he had enough time to do a 360 in the crease, and it wasn't the fact that he wasn't set. He just didn't know where the puck was. So being set and not knowing where the puck is two totally different things. You can be set and not know where the puck is. Lindgren does it all the time, right? And like Gallagher said, he had enough time to fall to the ice, try to get back up, and then have some guy do a flying elbow, Macho Man Randy Savage elbow on his head, then get up, set in position, see where the puck is, and tip it in. And Murray just kind of – now, I'm going to say something else that's kind of a counterpoint to that PJ Stock said. Take whatever you want from what he says. But
yeah, take those headphones off. You don't want to hear this crap.
Anyway, McLennan said there was no way that he wasn't set. There was no way. It's not if the NHL is going to sit there and say that goalie has to be in his set position and know exactly where the puck is, then they have to come out and say that, right? The problem with the NHL, and it's the same thing with headshots, is there's no clear definition of exactly what anything is. And it's all a matter of opinion. And he said today, what if this is a game 7 of a Stanley Cup final? And now you're making that call a matter of the opinion of whoever's taking it in the war room in Toronto. It's his opinion that was goalie, or his opinion that the goalie wasn't set. How long does it take for a goalie? How long does a goalie have to get set? Is there a set time? Like if the goalie set with, does he have to be set within 5 seconds? Is it 10 seconds? Does he have
Is
30
that person
seconds?
making the decision a former NHL goalie?
Is he? It doesn't matter, but
There's a lot of things you can ask in that situation.
There's a lot of things you can ask that situation. Yeah. I mean, now PJ Stock thought it was a no goal, but PJ Stock hates the Canadians, so it doesn't really matter. And the reason he said it was a no goal because he said Murray didn't have time. It's his paint. It's his blue paint. And he should have the option. And he kind of makes a good point. It is the goalie's blue paint. But Gallagher made every effort to get out of it. After he got pushed and went down, he did not try to interfere with the goalie or touch the goalie or back into the goalie or bump the goalie. He just tried to get up and find out where the puck was so he can do what he can to tip it in. And so what PJ, he just went on about how, and Jeff O'Neill disagreed with him. He's on the, it should be a goal side. And PJ Stock was just saying, like, that's a no goal. The goalie couldn't set up, has to go up. And that's when McClendon said, well, how much time does he have? Like, like it all comes down to the point of if Carey Price, now if someone bumps into Carey Price, can he just flounder around?
No,
and then if they score a goal, then if he scores a goal, can he say, well, I wasn't set? That's not a goal. I wasn't set.
I mean, we can point to that legendary Kreider play where Kreider literally pulls him out of the net with his arms flailing as another player shoots and scores. I think it was Jesper Foss. Just walks in, shoots in the open net. That was a goal. That wasn't goalie interference.
But the point I'm making is, and this really isn't about goalie interference. It's about whether or not the goalie was set for the shot, which I guess is part of goalie interference. But the interference had already happened. If there was interference, it was done and over with by the time the 2 goals went in, because 2 goals were scored.
Yeah.
But that's my point. Like, go back to the poked in goals with the there's a loose puck in the pads of Anderson. Kotkaniemi pushes at the puck. His part of his stick happens to get Anderson, and he slides in.
Yeah.
So what's the referee, as soon as that puck is loose in the blue paint, should call the play dead. If that's the case, as soon as the puck is loose in the blue crease, the play is dead.
One way to get rid of this crap is do that. Another is to just call penalties anytime a player puts a toe in the blue paint.
And then we go back to
the 1999 Stanley Cup final, the toe in the paint goal.
Well, it's not even that. There's a lot of people that are saying, like, do what they do internationally, and if there's people that are in the blue paint, you blow the play, and it's a face-off.
Yeah,
right. But you know what? I don't want that though. I like seeing the battles in front of the net. I like that kind of stuff, right?
And I agree, but you can't have one game, this goal counts.
Yeah, that's right.
And then 2 games later, the same play, the goal doesn't count.
Yeah.
What's your, like, and I think it was brought up on Twitter, I forget who, but they just said, all right, so if the puck is loose anywhere near the goalie in the blue paint, blow it down, because obviously if you go to play the puck and you touch the goalie, it's either interference or you're pushing the goalie in the net.
Yeah.
Because Anderson never even had the puck. Anderson didn't have the
farts
puck.
in his direction. Does he go full Mike Smith and flop down?
But the war room needs to be fixed, and that's the problem. Either they need concrete to the point rules on every single play, or you stop making those calls to the war room and you let the referees decide it. That's what I think should happen, personally. A set standard needs to be made. A clear-cut language needs to be written down. Yeah. Because it's all right now, it's all interpretation of whoever answers the phone in the war room.
Or whatever is it heads or tails? Who's the home team? Yeah. Okay, home team is Edmonton. Oh, sorry, Edmonton. The goal stands.
Yeah.
So for me, we had some different media come out and say something. You brought up Jeff O'Neill. So Jeff O'Neill said, bizarre call in Ottawa, or bizarre call in Montreal. How long are you going to give the goalie to reset? And completely agree with that. David Amber said prior to the goal being disallowed, that should count. Murray had time to regroup, and then added, don't agree with that, had enough time to reset. Okay. Dave Hodge said, should Gallagher have received a penalty? No. Thus, should Gallagher's goal have counted? Yes. And the thing that I'm taking out of Gallagher's quote is this. He says, I get knocked on my ass. I have time to reset. You can't tell me the goalie doesn't have time to reset. And that's just playing over in my head, and it pisses you off. And would that have changed anything that happened today? I don't think so. But it would have given the team just that extra confidence that they very well need. And we know that they need that. It's, you battle back, you win a game in the final couple seconds, whether it was Gallagher tipping it by, or even if that wouldn't have went in and, Deneau would have knocked it in the net. You saw Deneau's reaction when he thought he scored. It was like, oh my God, I finally scored a goal. And just think of what that would have done for his confidence.
So here's my question. If Gallagher's goal didn't go in, but Deneau's goal did go in, are we arguing the same thing?
More than likely.
Probably more than likely.
Like, you know what I mean? Because you're looking at another 2 seconds.
Yeah.
2 to 3 seconds after. Well, I'm going to say 2. It wasn't that long, but
and the players didn't know right away that it went in the net either.
Everyone stopped playing.
Yeah.
Murray looked over at the referee like this. He wasn't even looking at the play. He was looking over at the referee like this when Deneau was putting it in the net. So if
proving that he knew where the puck was.
Yeah. But he didn't have time to reset, so that's why.
Well, he had time enough to reset to complain to the referee.
That's right.
Right? So I don't know.
Yeah.
I do think that they would have still have been part of some grand review and called back.
More than likely.
The worst part about it is no one from the NHL responds. No one comes back and says, hey, we messed up on this. We're going to review this play so in the future we make it better. No one says anything. There's no accountability. It's like, we don't call that a headshot. Well, everyone in the world thinks it's a headshot. Oh, well.
Yeah, it was less than 50% of the head was contacted, so not a headshot.
Or he pushed that goal in. Nah, no goal. He pushed that goal in. Yeah, that is a goal. Well, why? We don't have to. Doesn't matter.
We don't have to justify it.
Yeah. So because of that lack of accountability, especially publicly, for these off-ice officials, I mean, the on-ice officials, there's still some accountability issues, but at least you know who they are. They're not a faceless, nameless entity. This Toronto war room, you don't know who it is. It could just be a giant group of interns hired off the street in Toronto and thrown in there. Oh, hey, you guys in Leaf Square, come on, drop your beers. Let's go do this. Like, we don't know.
Chris Lee on Zoom on his day off or something.
I'll tell you, in the National Lacrosse League, there's a third referee in the penalty box area. He does the review of the goals at the game with the 2 referees that are there. So maybe the NHL should go to something like that, have a 5-referee system, and the 5th referee is the review guy. And all the referees, including the linesmen, I guess, sit and talk about it. Well, then they make the decision. That
would be a good idea.
Personally, to me, I think that would be a great idea. And that way it stays in-house. It's an impartial, referees are supposed to be impartial, although that's debatable. It's an impartial group. It's done by the guys that are actually there. And it's done by a guy that's sitting there who actually saw the play live as well. So they can look at the video review and do it. It's not some. So,
and it could bypass this garbage 2 review system that they had in Montreal, where the first review was reviewing whether or not across the line, ignoring any interference or no interference, and then doing a second review just to review the goal again.
Yeah, and it just kills the momentum of the game too. We've seen these. I think the one that used to kill me, it's gotten a little bit better now, was offside.
Yeah.
And it was like, was it offside? Wasn't it offside? Let's talk about it for 10 minutes. Let's slow the game down. Let's kill all the momentum that team just got for scoring or not scoring that goal. And then, oh, well, the play's been under, it's been going back and forth for a while. So let's just rewind the clock like 2.5 minutes. That's the shit that I hate.
I mean, I think if you're going to review a goal, it should be, we're reviewing this, and this.
Yep.
Not, we're going to review this. And then the coach goes, oh, wait a minute. I want you to review this. So why doesn't Julian go, oh, wait a minute. I want you to review this from 10 minutes ago. I think 10 minutes ago, they might have been offside. So that would have stopped the game and changed the whole, like, it's ridiculous.
Yep.
Like, if you're going to review a goal, review it once. If you pick up anything on that review that's not right, come back and say,
find something that's going to give you a concrete reason why a decision when something's called a goal is going to be overturned.
Yeah. Like, all right, it did cross the line. However, you know what? This guy pushed the goalie in, causing the puck to cross the line.
Upon further review, goalie interference or good goal,
whatever.
one or the other. It's not like they're trained in this or anything.
No.
So on the accountability part, though, like at what point does a team owner finally say enough is enough? Because it's not just the Canadians. Let's be very clear. It is every single team in the NHL. There's been iffy calls, especially in these goalie interference calls, because nobody knows what the hell they are anymore.
And this has been going on for years.
Yeah, it's been more than one. It's more than one call. It's dozens and dozens every single year for the last 5-10 years. So at what point does an owner say, okay, I've had it. I'm calling the league and I'm going to say, look, we're giving, especially a team like the Montreal Canadiens, who are one of the top earners in the NHL, or the Leafs, or the Rangers, who are the absolute top earners. These are the top 3 financially viable teams who are kind of propping up your Sunbelt teams like Arizona. When does one of those owners call and say, we're done with this crap? You're stealing games from us. Our fans are the ones that put money in here. Start setting the standard and follow that standard. Like in Molson's case, his brewery is also the largest advertiser for the NHL, not just the Canadians, for the league. So, you have to hit them in the pocketbook to make them set up the rules.
I feel properly. This is something that's going to have to come up at the GM meeting and in the owners meeting, and just say, give us some sort of answer just so we can tell our players what the real rule is.
Exactly.
Right.
And then
it's going to start, right. It's going to start at the top and then work its way down. That's how it's going to have to work.
Because if it's a goal, it's a goal. If it's not, it's
not.
Back. Pick it. Follow that.
Let's go back to the 80s where everything was a goal. Screw it.
Yeah, for a league that says we're trying to build we're trying to build offense. Let's build offense.
Yeah, let's just, no matter how it goes across the line, it's a goal. Screw it. Or hey, you go look again. I'll bring up the lacrosse. Go lacrosse. Go. No one's allowed in the crease. Period. In a conversation.
Use the international
toes in the crease. It's no goal. Yeah, if toes in the crease, blow the whistle down. As soon as a person's in the crease, blow the whistle down and it's face off.
Yeah.
And I don't like that for hockey anyway, but
it may come to that.
It solves a lot of problems.
It would solve several problems. And
I would make the crease smaller if you're going to do that, but
true. Speaking of problems, there's a lot of problems when guys try to clean themselves up. Our sponsors at Manscaped have a solution for you. Hey, fellas, we're in the thick of winter and a storm's a brewing. It looks like 1 to 3 inches are in the forecast when you trim that hibernation bush that's taken place in your pants. Luckily, our partners at Manscaped specialize in products to make sure you're walking around town with beautiful snowballs. Manscaped is here to provide you the best tools for your grooming experience, offering precision engineered tools for your family jewels. The Lawnmower 3.0 is the best hygiene tool for the modern man. Because of the ceramic blade and advanced skin-safe technology, your snags on your snowballs will be reduced. The trimmer is also waterproof, so you can trim in the shower or jacuzzi if you're some kind of a savage. Manscaped's Performance Package is the best buy of 2021. The Performance Package comes with the new and improved Lawnmower 3.0, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag. Have you ever noticed how nasty nose and ear hair is? In fact, 79% of partners polled admitted that long nose hair is a major turnoff. Might as well use the best tools to do the job. This bundle also comes with the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and Crop Reviver Ball Toner. The Crop Preserver is an anti-chafing ball deodorant that will make your balls smell nice and make you feel like your testes are walking in a winter wonderland. The Crop Reviver is a spray-on toner for your balls. It's made with soothing aloe and witch hazel extracts that will make your balls look up at you and say, thanks. Don't get cold feet this winter. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code unfiltered20 at manscaped.com. They also have a ton of other amazing men's hygiene products on their website, from disposal mats for your pubes to foot deodorant. 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code unfiltered20. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code unfiltered20. Thanks, Manscaped, for making our winter wieners look so good. And from trimming your manly area to trimming the fat away in a coaching staff, the Montreal Canadiens have fired Claude Julien and Kirk Muller, and in their place have hired Dominique Ducharme as the interim head coach, and have called up Alex Burrows from the Laval Rocket and brought him up as an assistant coach in charge of the power play. So, guys, we'll start with you, Treg. What do you make of this drastic change?
I think it had to come. It's Bergevin had to do it, and he had to do it now, because if this losing streak kept going, then it's a 56-game season. Like, you're not going to recover from an 8-game losing streak. We said this before the season started, a 5-game losing streak. Habs have won 2 games in their last 10. So, their first 10, they lost 1. 1 in regulation. So they went from 7-1-2 to 2-5-3, or 2-5-3, I think there. And that's just not acceptable. And Bergevin hit the nail on the head. He said, I saw some similarities to what was happening with the team from last year with the 2 8-game losing streaks. And he knew he had to make, I think, win or lose the game, they would have, I think that was the last game for Julien regardless. I think Ducharme's a good pick. This interim tag, I noticed people on social media are reading into this. The interim tag's there just it's his job to lose. So they're not going to hire him and say, all right, he's here for the next 3 seasons. They're going to say, all right, Dom, show us what you got. You have till the end of the season. I don't see 2 coaches being fired in the same year. So
yeah, the tag also keeps them from having to negotiate a new contract. So they don't have to pay him any more than they already are. So they just keep him under the current contract. And
I think it was needed last year. I think Julien should have been let go last year. I wrote an article about it, about the coaches that could replace him. Well, Blaine, you just wrote a recent one there, but the same thing, only updated. And I wrote an article just the other day about, you can't waste your time on this losing streak. You can't let it sit. And Bergevin pulled the trigger. I think this was something he was thinking about for a while. I think Julien lost the room. He lost the room. And once you do that, like we said before, the effort just isn't, the second effort just isn't there, or the get up and go isn't there. I'm really curious to see how well Price plays after this. I'm not saying he But those shootout goals, that last shootout goal was pretty, he just kind of swung his hand at it, and oh well. But anyway, that's.
Yeah. Now you mentioned earlier in the show Weber's comment about negativity around the room, and John Lou mentioned it today on his Habs minute, and he mentioned it's kind of, in retrospect, it looks as though Weber was kind of shooting out to the world. There's an issue here, and people kind of missed out. The negativity around the room might have meant the coaching staff. So you mentioned my article. I wrote an article the day before the firing, noting that, like you mentioned in yours, there's not a lot of time to ride through some kind of a losing streak. You can't have a long stretch of bad play, and that the time was pretty much up for the Canadiens to do something. Had they won the game, and Bergevin mentioned it in the press conference in French, that the outcome of the game didn't matter. It's that he saw the same things from those 8-game losing streaks seeping back into their game in the last 7 or 8 games. And I mentioned that in my article, that the way they were playing was those kinds of games, and that a new coach would probably be needed to get a new voice, a progressive voice, someone who coaches in the new style. And Bergevin mentioned that. He mentioned that he wants that younger voice, that newer voice, those new systems, those progressive systems, someone who's proven that they can work with the youth, proven that they can win in the lower levels, and mentor those young players while still cultivating a winning atmosphere. I mentioned Dominique Ducharme as my top pick for a couple of reasons. One, he knows the team. He's been there for 3 seasons. He knows the players. He knows what they're doing. He has an intimate knowledge of how they've been playing and what he would do. He has a plan in place already on what he would do. Also, he doesn't have to deal with a 14-day quarantine because he's already with the team. And when he was hired 3 years ago, the rumors going around were that he was basically the heir apparent. So whenever Julien was finally going to be let go, Ducharme was going to just step up and take the reins. So for all those reasons, this hiring makes sense. And as I mentioned with the interim tag, you're right, Treg. It's his job to lose. Bergevin even said that. He said that from the moment, this is my guy, and he's got the full season. It's up to him if he keeps the job, which is essentially what you just said. So all that being said, I'm expecting to see out of a team with Ducharme, maybe not in the first game, but over time, a more aggressive team, a return to those first 10 games. Because the rumor is, Chantal Machabé brought this up on radio this morning after the firings became known. That style of play was pushed by Ducharme. And then when they started to have small issues and they lost that game to Ottawa, Julien took over and he tried to tighten up the team defensively. So I'm expecting to see a more aggressive forecheck, a more aggressively offensive team. And because of the firing, I do think we're going to see a little bit more jump in their legs. So we might see a couple of really good, solid games, maybe even a couple of wins before things start to peter out again and things settle down. But I think it'll take a couple of weeks before we see what Ducharme's rejigs to this system are going to bring. Matt, what do you think?
So Bergevin added during his press conference that he wanted to give Julien and Muller the chance to correct these deficiencies in practices. But he noticed during the 3 games coming out of the break that it just wasn't happening. So it kind of made this decision a little bit easier to make. And he said that the hardest thing to watch was the team regressing from one playing with pace and to its identity to chasing our tail, chasing the puck, and not being in sync. You brought up the fact that Ducharme was his choice, quarantine or no quarantine, and I like that because it and he also said when asked, I think Bob McKenzie asked the question, are you going to be interviewing any other coaches throughout the season? And 100% he said no. He said it's Ducharme's team right now, and we'll see how it goes. We're not going to be talking to any other coaches. So for me, if I'm Ducharme, it'll put a little bit of pressure on me, because it'll say, this is my time to shine. Like, I've worked so hard to get here. It's my time to shine. Let's do this. And at the same time, it's a little bit off of him, knowing that he doesn't have anybody knocking at the door trying to take his job. So I expect the same thing. I expect them to return more to that high octane offense. And the fact that he has a relationship with some of the players that are already in the system, and he had that with them when they were younger. He was the head coach of the Halifax Mooseheads when they went on their tear, when they had Jonathan Drouin and McKinnon, and they won like every game that year. They won like 51 games or whatever the hell it was, won the Memorial Cup. He was also with the Montreal Juniors with Jake Allen and Xavier Ouellet, and he was coached during the World Juniors with Victor Mete. So not only has he seen these players in the NHL as an assistant coach, he's seen them at the junior levels. And when he was brought into the Canadian system, he was really sought after, let's just say that. And a lot of people, as you mentioned, thought that he was going to be the apparent heir to the throne, when ultimately Julian was either let go or retired. And I think he's going to be a fresh voice. I can see good things. I'm looking forward to seeing how the power play is going to develop, how the PK is going to look, and how he's going to roll his four lines. If he's going to give guys like Kakaniemi a little bit more, a little bit longer leash, let's just say that. Maybe give him some more offensive tools to his wings. And as Treg said, how is Carey Price going to respond to this, and how is the team going to look overall? It's something to look forward to, but as you guys both said, expect a game or so for them to get into this new system. We might see some gaps in play. We might see some people out of position. It's all things that are going to happen when you're transitioning into new systems under a new coach. So obviously, am I going to want to see them win? Absolutely. Am I going to be down the coach's throat if they don't win tomorrow night against Winnipeg? No. Right. I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt that he's gonna take the time to implement his systems, have the players learn those systems, and then we'll see how the product changes on the ice.
It's kind of unfortunate. Oh, sorry, Blaine. It's kind of unfortunate that Bergevin waited the week-long break to fire him after the week. I know why. He said, all right, I just want to see if they're going to take this week and work everything out in practice. If he would have done it before, he would have given Ducharme that whole week to say, here's my system. However, if he was pushing for the offensive style of the game in the first 10 games, then the players kind of already know what his system's kind of going to be like. So if that's the case, it shouldn't take him too long. I'm not expecting this big 10, 12 game win streak to happen afterwards. As a matter of fact, I'll be happy if they're a little bit 500 over the next 4, 5, 6 games, like a couple, like I'm not expecting a miracle. However, as it progresses, I want that 500 to move to a 600, maybe to a 700, and then kind of have an even out. Because they're not in a horrible spot. They're still in fourth, 3 or 4 points ahead of Calgary. So it's not like they're outside looking in. They're inside trying to stay, and they're only 3 points out of second place. So it's not like they're, in a terrible position.
Yeah. Now, one thing that I think fans need to keep an eye on, and I was talking to Grant McCagg on his pregame show for recruits today, and he brings up a good point. when Ducharme was the head coach in Halifax, and you and I, Treg, saw this, he relied heavily on 16-year-old players, Foucault, McKinnon, Drouin, and that team was able to come from behind down 0-3 and beat Quebec. And then they went on a pretty good run in that playoff. The following year, when they a little bit more experience, they went on and won the Memorial Cup. What I think fans could expect to see is a coach that relies on his talent, not just veterans. So guys like Suzuki and Kotkaniemi are going to be given a little bit more leash, I think. In the next few games, we're going to see that. Guys like Romanov, we'll probably see experiments of Romanov moved up onto a top pairing or playing with Shea Weber. Even if it's 4, 5, 6 shifts in a game, change it up, maybe after a penalty kill, it's him and Weber out there so that Romanov can give that mobility that's missing that Sherratt doesn't provide on that left side. And moving Sherratt down and letting Kulak play with him a little bit, kind of just shifting things around and giving a little bit more leeway to their offense, not relying so heavily on Danault in every situation when he's just not scoring.
Or defending.
That's what I think we're going to probably see.
I think my biggest takeaway from this, and the issue I had, and I should have brought it up in the Ottawa series, was the best defensive line, which is Danault's line, could not get out of its own zone.
Yeah.
It was the worst line in the last 3 games, defensive-wise. And again, I'm hoping to see from Ducharme, and I'm expecting from Ducharme, is exactly what you said, Blaine. He's going to play the guys who are the skilled players. He's not going to care if they're a veteran or not. You're my skilled players. He's going to shorten benches.
Yeah.
Like Bergevin went on, or Julian. Oh, I got 4 lines. I can put him out against anyone. I don't want you putting Evanson's line out when you're down by a goal with 2 minutes to play. I don't want that line out there. I don't want Danault's line out there at this point. I want Suzuki's and I want Kotkaniemi's line out there. Why? Because they have the speed and the skill to put the puck in the net. Right?
Yeah, anyone who's watched Team Canada when Ducharme was the head coach, he made a lot of in-game adjustments, did tons of line matching. He switched his lines around. He would change guys on the lines based on the scenario they were going out to play. They're up a goal. Well, he'll put a guy out who can play offensively, but he'll put his defensive specialists on the wing. He'll move a centerman over to kind of help out in case there's a couple, he has to worry about a face-off. He's a strategist in game. And that's something that Julian didn't really have that type of aptitude. He was kind of, here's my plan. Oh shit, they figured it out. What do I do? Hey, Dom, help. No, you know what? I don't like your idea. Never mind. That was basically what happened.
And I mean, Dom is a very mix and match. He'll see what the other line is. He'll match lines. He'll do that.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. He may not match line for line. He might match players against that line. Hey, you know what, Anderson? That guy playing against you you're twice his size. You're going to go out on this line so you can walk all over that guy and probably get a goal.
Yeah.
You're probably going to see Mete more. If I'm being honest, I think you might even see Mete in the lineup more.
Or Fleury.
And I don't know why I'm bringing Mete up in a positive way so much, but
we have been away for a while, so
yeah. So
you had time to reflect on what great player he is.
But I think you're going to see a different team. Actually, I don't think you're going to see a different team. I think you're going to see a team more like what we saw in the first 10 games is what you're going to see.
A little bit more push.
A little bit more push, a little bit more forechecking, a little bit more aggressiveness. Not because and we've talked about this before on a show. Montreal seems to get into that rhythm under Julian where, okay, let's sit back. Oh, we're up by a goal, sit back. Oh, we're down by 2 goals, sit back so they don't score another goal. Everything was always sit back.
Bergevin even brought this up during his press conference as he was asked about the amount of penalties that they've been taking. He said that's something they've definitely got to address. And there's a difference between playing an aggressive style and then taking stupid penalties.
Yeah.
And it's been a lot of that this year, and there's been some calls that shouldn't have been called against them. But that's a league-wide thing.
Yeah, far too many that should have been called.
That's right. That's right.
I like Ducharme's comment on penalties where they said, "What are you going to do about the power play?" And he said, "It's hard to practice the power play when you don't get any."
That's right. Yep.
So,
yeah,
I think that was a shout out there to the refing. Maybe, I guess, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
the one thing that pissed me off is the first question that was asked, and he said there was a question that was asked. I don't remember who asked it, but it said, do you think the bar's been set too high by Mark Bergevin? He said, if the bar's too high, we're in the wrong sport. And I think that was a great answer right off the bat to say, like, first of all, like, give me a chance, and let's move on. Let's ask a little bit better question. But a lot of them were about his preparedness, and he. Even though he is a more of a quiet, reserved guy, at least that's what we've seen, he was pretty quick with his answers. And he said, we need more puck support, working together to give the guy with the puck more options, which we've seen. It's lately it's been a 1 and out. Like if the guy going up the ice doesn't have anyone to pass it to, it's either a shitty shot on net or he forces the play. He also said another question that he feels prepared. He said at school, when you're prepared, you're not nervous for about the exam. And I thought that was a really good way to answer a question as well. He also, everyone said congratulations to him, which obviously you're going to do. I feel great that he's going to get this opportunity. However, he's taken it with a grain of salt. And he said, if I had written a script, it'd be different. I'm losing 2 colleagues and 2 great people. Adding that he grew as a coach from serving with Julian and Muller for almost 3 years. And I can see that. And it wasn't like a yay me moment. There wasn't a big smile on his face saying, I'm the coach of the Canadians now. Like, he knows that there's a lot of work to do. He's going to address the team. And he said, like, he's not going to tell the media what he's going to tell the players. You'll see the product at the end on the ice. And that's what we're going to see.
I will say this. He did kind of say that, and I don't know if this was a shot at Julian or just trying to say how their styles differ, but he did say, I like to work with my whole staff on correcting things that are wrong. Like, I like to work with everyone. Like, I like to know players, what works for them, what doesn't work for them. That way it makes me better, suited to do with them what I need to do. And I don't think that was a shot at Julian, like in a rude way. I think basically what he's saying was Julian had a system. You're playing in this system. We've mentioned this many times over the past 4 years on this show.
Yep.
He has a system. You either play in the system or you don't. He's basically saying, I have a system. However, I can work my system around what makes you a better player.
That's right.
Because in the end,
exactly.
Ahead.
And that's the difference between old school versus new school.
Yeah. Like, I mean, you got a guy like Druin, who, I'm sorry, he's kind of took Julian's system and has been working with it because he's playing a good 200-foot game. But you can take a guy like Druin and make him more free. Hey, Druin, don't be scared to shoot then. Don't be, and that's a big issue, I think, too, with guys like Druin and stuff like that, is they don't want it. They're looking to pass because they don't want to shoot. They don't want to miss. They don't want to mess up. They don't want to have no belly pad. So, and I think that's going to change under Dom. I think Dom's going to give the players a little bit more freedom because that's how skilled players work. Matthews and McDavid score the way they score because the coach says, hey, you know what to do. Go out and do it.
His system is basically when you're inside the blue line, you play defense. Once you're out of the defensive zone, do whatever.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen.
Make it work.
Yeah.
And that's what he did in Halifax. I mean, Blaine, you were there. That McKinnon and Druin and Ferk, they did well there because he basically said, you guys have the skill to do this. Just go out and do it.
He played Nick Ehlers played under him too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Ehlers excelled.
Yeah.
And that's just and again, people of Twitterverse and all over the place who wanted Gerard Gallant hired tomorrow. he's going to lose games. He's probably might even lose a couple games in his first few games. Give it time. Players got to adjust.
So for me on this, just really quick, as I know we're starting to run out of time here. My take on that is we're seeing a coaching change with a team that is already at a NHL franchise. We're not looking at a team that, well, you just fired your coach because you're on a long losing streak. We've already given up in your bottom six, and most of your top six are fringe NHL players, and you've already given up. So I'm happy that he's going to be given the tools to succeed right away. And I truly hope that they can go back to that winning formula that they had at the start of the year, and not even winning games, just that level of effort and just the consistency in their play.
Yeah, I think we're going to see the joy of the game come back a little bit. They seem to be going through the motions. Also, whenever a GM makes a coaching change like this, it always wakes the team up, especially one that's got some decent leadership, because they realize, oh crap, someone lost a job because we just didn't perform. So that makes them redouble their efforts. And I want to be very clear here. We're not reveling in Claude Julien and Kirk Muller's firing. Both are excellent men. They're good, kind people. I know Claude myself. He is one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. He's very generous, and everyone who has ever talked to him or ever met him will agree that he is one of those nice people that you're just happy to know. So it's sad that someone that nice lost his job, but no NHL coach is hired thinking they're not going to get fired. The time was going to come. Unfortunately, it came mid-season and not, in a retirement or something along there. His contract was up. And so it's sad that we lost those two, but at the same time, there's a renewed excitement around the team. So hopefully that negative energy that Weber was talking about, that new excitement kind of gets back into the room, and we see that team from the start of the season.
And go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, and in better news about ex-coaches of Montreal, Mario Tremblay said yesterday that if they lost to the Ottawa Senators last night, he'd retire from television. So
yay!
We're all waiting for that to happen.
Sadly, PJ Stock will be hired in his place.
Wow.
Yeah, probably.
He's already there, isn't he?
Not full time.
Oh, okay.
No, I joke. I've met PJ a few times. He's good. He's a good guy. It's just
he's the
sometimes he likes to troll.
French. He's the Sid Sixero.
I'll bring up Sid Sixero really quick, as I have his quote here as well. And you know what? This is nothing but clickbait. And for a guy that is moving on to going to host breakfast television soon,
can't come soon enough.
Right? It's not soon enough, exactly. And he has really opened his mouth a few too many times for my liking in the last little while. And you know what? This is just, I don't get paid to do this. I'm a fan. Okay. I got a full-time job. I don't work for Sportsnet. I don't work for TSN or anything like that. However, the shit that you're putting out, like, it's goddamn clickbait, and you can be better. Don't leave behind Sportsnet with bullshit like this following you, because I'm going to say the quote, and we all know that this is absolute horseshit what he said. And this is his quote. This is his tweet. He said, Claude Julien, who had heart surgery last year and is technically high risk, yet still agreed to coach during a global pandemic, just got fired 18 games into the season. We know this has nothing to do with that. And this was clickbait, and it worked, and it got a lot of people fired up. And the only thing I'm going to say is, like, be better. We know, like, and I really wish someone else from the hockey community would step up, or someone within the media would step up and say, you can't say this kind of shit. But it's not going to happen because he's part of the Toronto sports fucking league, or whatever the hell you want to call it, and he can say and do whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah, it's
So
Steve Simmons levels of stupid.
absolutely, that's just trolling at a whole new level. And you know what? Good luck with breakfast television, because we won't have to hear that kind of shit from you again. Stick to reporting about the Leafs. It's what you love to do so much. Just talk about the Leafs and leave the Canadians talk to other people.
Sid Sixer is just looking for attention. That's all he ever did on Tim and Sid, and that's all he's going to do on Twitter now. Steve Simmons is the same way. They just look for attention. Well, Simmons is a has-been reporter that's working in the Toronto Sun. That's
up until the point that you brought his name up, I went through almost the whole show without swearing at all. And then just in that, I threw out quite a few. I didn't throw out the worst, but it's just so disheartening.
It's disappointing to see that kind of trash out there, because people work so hard to get to the levels that they're working at now.
Yeah.
People who deserve to be at those levels that aren't quite there yet.
Mm-hmm.
And then these guys are handed these positions and left there because they're in Toronto.
That's right. And you've got some fantastic people that have been let go.
Yeah, exactly.
And he has a bit of a cult following too. So I mean, Tim and Sid was a successful show. So now Sid can just think he can say whatever the hell he wants Sid was just there for comic relief, I guess you could say. I stopped watching it because Sid just got on my nerves. But anyway, what do you
pretty
do?
much?
When we get our own show, we'll
have our own show.
I meant on Sportsnet Montreal. I don't know. We'll never get.
No, that's never going to happen. But at least here, we have our fun. We say dumb shit sometimes, but we're not out there purposely trolling other fan bases just to get clicks.
That's very true.
And I'm not saying we're better than these people, because let's be honest, we're not. But
you should be held at a higher. You should be. If you're in the spotlight, you should be held to a higher standard. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. And you put something on the internet, it's out there forever. It reflects you. So think ahead a little bit. You don't need to troll. So I think we'll just end the show here. I think we've covered enough. We've ranted, we raved. Like I don't know. It sounds good to me. You got something else there, Matt?
Yeah, I just want to say thanks to all of our followers for tuning in yet again. The show wouldn't be anything without you guys and your support. Wherever you're watching or wherever you're listening, just remember we're on Apple Podcasts, we're on Spotify, we're now on YouTube, which you're watching right now. Tell your friends. Listen in your car on the way to work. Hopefully we're putting out a good product. We'll put a smile on your guys' face, and you'll be coming back for more, and you'll tell people about this show. We're looking forward to some future guests that we're going to have on the show. We're always out there. We're always talking to different people to have them on to switch things up from just seeing our mugs. And like I said, we appreciate your guys' support. So thank you so much. And, for three military guys to have a show and to be able to have, people on the show like Eric Engels and John Liu and Craig Button, all those kind of guys. And you see them on TV afterwards and you're like, I was just in his living room, or I was this, or I was this. It just, as a fan, it makes you happy. And I just want to thank everyone again.
So why are you in their living rooms? Like, do they know you're there?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. I'll just say
all
yes. Right. So thank you everyone for your support.
I'd like to reiterate that. And please remember, if you are talking about it, so are we.